Strike up the band. It's that time. It's time for another early morning Sunday show.
Good morning, everyone. Happy holidays. You know, you can only wear these particular sweaters once a year, and they're for good reason, because it really is a kind of a butt ugly thing. But 'tis the holiday season, unless you're in the UK, where I just heard you guys canceled Christmas this year or something. So sorry about that. Hey, Kat's here to wish everyone a happy holiday. Headbutting me already. Have a seat there, Kat. Hope everyone has a great week. Really enjoy yourself. I'm going to be home. I guess I'm going to be gone for a couple of days, but otherwise for the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to kind of catching up on some music, doing some things, working on my year-end favorites, a couple other ideas. We'll see what happens. Really nice response. I appreciate everyone watched that midweek on the Bob Marley 75th albums. God, they were pretty cool. And really, it was neat. I've listened through all of those, really enjoyed them. Now I got to go back through and listen to them again. That's how you do things. I had a couple books. I bought some books this week. Didn't even bother pulling out the prices yet. We have this one here. It's called The Dark Stuff. This is written by Nick Kent, a really famous journalist. It is stories of the underbelly of rock and roll. Pretty neat. Hey, before I even go through that, I have to apologize to the channel. His name's Corey out of Just Add Vinyl. He made me this incredibly beautiful opening sequence. It was done in Columbus, Ohio, and it was at a nativity scene. I mean, and it's amazing. And Corey, he does video production, so you can imagine this thing was outstanding. And so he sent this to me. I'd asked him to send me an opening, and I deleted the damn thing. And Corey, I mean, you know, the Google thing, whatever, where you have the four little things. I mean, I totally wiped it out. When you sent me it a second time, it wasn't on there. And I apologize. I do everything on my phone. I'm trying to save it, you know, and I don't know. I'm trying to take this from this Google to move it over to my photos or to a place where I can get at it so I can edit it in my iPhone movie. You know, folks, you know how it goes. And it just wasn't working. I'm moving. I'm trying to get things done. And I wiped it out of memory, Corey, because it's a shared file, and I'm pretty sure that I took it and absolutely destroyed it. And that's too bad, because ladies and gentlemen, it was a great, Corey did such an amazing job. I got a bloopers part. Maybe I should try to put that on. That's too bad. Corey, if it really still does exist, though I'm pretty sure I wiped it out, still send it and I'll figure it out. But it was really cool. So, okay, back to the books. So that was that one. How about this one? This is The Velvet Underground, The Dead Straight Guide to. Velvet Underground, one of my absolute all-time favorite groups. I have some of theirs, and not a lot of theirs was saved because I gave it the vinyl to some young lady, if you guys remember, that I wanted to get into music, and I thought, you're going to get into music, I'm going to give you my Velvet Underground vinyl, because to me I felt it was an extremely important band. And the third one I bought was Tchaikovsky, His Life in Music. This is kind of a abbreviated for if you don't want to read a huge book. What makes this interesting, besides there's pictures, was there's CDs, 2 CDs. So as you're reading, it's talking about something, it tells you to go to these CDs and listen to it. I think that's great, because when you're talking music and you can actually hear what they're talking about, especially with classical, I think it's extremely helpful. So we'll add those back to the very tiny music book collection, since all my music books were downstairs. Believe me, I got plenty of other books, but not those. And we got some amazing things this week. I mean, it's like, wow. But the first one, Bill from the Vinylverse, you know, which I had the absolute honor to meet this year, have dinner with, and go out record shopping. He sent me, some Christmas VCLT, and the album's called Passion Sources. Is that neat? Peter Gabriel, in the 80s, he did the soundtrack work for The Last Temptation of Christ. And that is here. Okay. So it's one of the ones of the 400 final albums I saved. This was one of them because that's what I thought of that music. I liked it so much. So I saved at least the vinyl for Last Temptation of Christ. Played it yesterday. It sounds great too, by the way. Cleaned it up nice. Just doesn't look great. Nothing to look at. So this album is composed of the artists that inspired him. This is when Peter Gabriel's in his world music phase. And so you have music on here from Armenia, there's Egypt, you have Ethiopia, Guyana, India, Pakistan, Morocco, a variety of different artists. And you probably can't see them very, very well. Cat's trying to look too. You know, one of my favorites is Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. I had some CDs of his. He's out of Pakistan. Incredibly beautiful voice. It's just a lot of this was, you know, done, recorded on location wherever they were at. So there are a lot of location recordings. So it's a nice world music sampler, I guess would be the best way to call it. And it's called Passion Sources. If you're interested in a lot of music from around the world, just trying to listen to some of the more traditional, this thing's amazing. It is just top notch. So and Bill didn't know I'd saved Last Temptation of Christ or my thoughts about that album, and he sends this. I mean, it's like, whoa, we are connected. So Bill from Final Verse, thank you. That was very, very cool. I appreciate it. All right, how about some heat, some heaters? My local store. It's like a club. I go there every Sunday just to chat. Radio Wasteland in Midland has had some incredible music. I showed you last week. I had an OG of some Miles Davis. There's an OG of the Velvet Underground's 4th album, Loaded. I just talked about my love for the Velvet Underground. And this, the inner sleeve's not there. There's the label. This was their 4th album, and it came out in 1970. And it was called Loaded because it was supposed to be loaded with hits. Now, Velvet Underground, they dropped Verve, of all places. They're on Verve, right? The jazz label. We're on Verve because we're jazzy. And Atlantic picked them up. Atlantic said, we will put out an album as long as there's no music about sex and drugs. Well, now, doesn't that just get rid of half the Velvet Underground catalog, right? So they write. And Reed wrote the most listenable, the most catchy, the most commercial songs that he'd ever written. I mean, he used to work in the Brill Building. He made songs for other people. He did, bubblegum songs. He knew how to make a hook, and that's what he did. Now, John Cale, he'd been gone a couple albums ago. Maureen Tucker's not on this. She's out having a baby. So, and Doug Ewell does 4 of the tracks because Reed is just really not in a good state. And he left after this album, and he criticized it. It's no good. The production was excellent on this. They really put it together, and it did get some radio play. The big one that everyone would, there's Sweet Jane's on here. And, of course, Cowboy Junkies did the greatest version of Sweet Jane ever. There is Oh Sweet Nothing, Rock and Roll, Who Loves the Sun is on here, A Lonesome Cowboy Bill. This thing was incredible, absolutely, totally loaded with hits. if you're just the Velvet Underground, you're thinking about it. I'm just this is an easy one to get into if you want to go into the Velvet Underground in a nice, easy fashion. This and their third album, self-titled Velvet Underground, which is personally my favorite, are easy ways to do it. But to get this, a beautiful OG copy. Look at that. The cover is just, I mean, this is nice. This is so nice. Nobody had there's no cocaine on here or anything. I can't see anybody had sex on my album cover. It's such good shape, and you don't find that. But there was more. I had this one, but I had a 1980 repress and lost it. Bo Diddley. This is Bo Diddley's first one. Or as Bo Diddley's mom would call Ellis Otha Bates, Mississippi. Now, the vinyl on the Velvet Underground is pristine. It is, I mean, it was really clean. This one here's a little more scratched up, okay? This was played. There was some needles going across this. There's no skips, none of that kind of stuff, though. It's a little more scratched up. This was Bo Diddley's first album. He was born 28, died in 08. His music, he took African rhythms, the drums, the feels, and he created a signature beat, which became known as the Bo Diddley beat, that is a cornerstone of rock and roll. It's a cornerstone of hip hop. It's a cornerstone of just pop. And you know, the Bo Diddley beat is bum 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 bum. Think I Want Candy. Okay, think that song. That's Bo Diddley beat happening. This album came out in 1958. It is a compilation of his singles that he had been putting out. And, you know, he had actually one that went to #1 on the R&B charts, Bo Diddley. Hey, Bo Diddley, bum, 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 bum. Hey, Bo Diddley, bum, 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 bum. The Bo Diddley beat. Incredible album. An extremely important album when you think about rock and roll, the roots, and what made it. There is a little, look at this guy, he did it right, man. This dude had his own stamp. We got a little writing there. But otherwise, this thing's really clean. Look at that spine. Really, this is just an amazing album. To me, it's an essential album. You know, and Bo Diddley, he actually grew up, he played trombone and violin. And then he went to a Pentecostal church and heard them play guitar. And he says, my God, that's what I want to do. So he does his version of I'm a Man. And his version of I'm a Man is just great. There is Diddy Wah Diddy, Diddy Daddy, Hey Bo Diddley, Bo Diddley. So not just Bo Diddley, there's Hey Bo Diddley, Hey Bo Diddley. So everything Diddley Dad. I mean, he just got into using Diddley Daddy. And there's a lot of talk of how he got the name Bo Diddley, but he used it everywhere. So really amazing, incredible album. To have an OG of those two was great. But yet there was more. Graham Parsons. This is a promo of Grievous Angel. One of those little white label promo things. I know, ooh, I can hear you gasping right now. Ooh, wow. Extremely clean album. Great shape. Originator. Oh, for God's sakes, cat. This came out in '73. It came out 4 months after Graham Parsons had passed away. His second album, they actually put out 2 albums at that time. And this are like duets with Emmylou Harris. You know, he'd met Emmylou Harris down in Washington, D.C. She was a folk musician. She played folk music. But he found her, actually the Eagles, some of the Eagles had told him, you got to come down and hear this gal. And so she kept him at the start. Man, this guy was a mess. He was drunk, he was drugged up, and she got him to the studio. And he began then to kind of get his brain back on, and they began to make music. And this is one of those amazing albums that was created by Graham Parsons. Graham Parsons took country music and he brought it to the rock and roll audience. Nashville, it was slick in Nashville. I mean, we had the violins, we have the syrup being added on, and it was just super slick. And he made it simple. Just great steel pedal guitars going on, beautiful harmonies, but he took out the slickness and created it simple. And of course, country rock began to form out of his music. On here we have Hickory Wind. Love Hurts is an incredible version to hear his voice and Emmylou Harris soar. Their voices soar together. It was just amazing. Return of the Grievous Angel. One of those, again, kind of a classic. It went to 195 on the charts. That was it. Disappeared. Graham was just, he couldn't. Just people weren't into his music, and he was just into the real bad, into the drugs and the alcohol. So wound up passing away. But amazing stuff. Really happy. This album, it's haunting, and there's a sense of desperation. You can hear it. So neat stuff. Just really quick. Speaking of Emmylou Harris, so then I bought that, and I'm not going to talk about these, but. And you can pick up Emmylou Harris real inexpensive. Here's her version. This is Luxury Liner. She does Poncho and Lefty on here. Incredible version of that. I picked up a Quarter Moon and 10 cent. There it is, $4. But her voice is incredible. This one came out in, you never find a date on there when you want it, and then you just waste a whole minute looking, so screw it. 78. And then I also picked up Roses in the Snow. I had a really nice Emmylou collection. I got into her late, but it might have been through Graham Parsons, through Love Hurts. And when I was growing up, Love Hurts, Nazareth put it on Hair of the Dog. I thought that was Nazareth's song. Hell if I knew. I was like, yeah, Nazareth, man, Love Hurts. How about that one? And then I find out, what? They didn't do that? How about that? Makes me learn about rock. Something brand new. This came out this year. We got some new stuff. Ozric Tentacles. British band. Been around since '83. Still putting out stuff. This is the first one they've put out in 5 years. There's my phone. The mastermind of this is a guy named Ed Wynn. On this album, he also has his wife is playing on bass and his son is playing on keys. Isn't that cool? They did that together. Beautiful blue vinyl. This Ozric Tentacles is it's an instrumental band. So if you love vocals, well, you might as well go on. They do blissed out soundscapes, I think you could say, and they're filled with these incendiary guitar solos. I got to know them in 1993. Their most popular is Jurassic Shift, and that's when that came out. I had that on CD, and of all the CDs, that's one of them I saved. I loved that one so much. I had an employee of mine. He was in college and turned me on to a lot of this electronic music, and Jurassic Shift was from Ozric Tentacles was one, and I had bought some other music. So what you get off this is kind of space grooves with ambient textures, I guess is a good way to do it. There's just this swirly hypnotic instrumentals type music. It all starts with an intro, and then there's kind of a melody that's happening. In come a repeated synth line, one of those over and over, followed by really a booming bass and drums. Next come in the keys and the guitar, and then the guitar solos keep happening. I believe this group's put out 20 albums. Really neat stuff. Now, it might not be for everyone. I don't know. But if you the guitars are just, this guy can play a guitar. This guy, Wynn, is really a great guitar player. Very neat group. You can find a lot of their music out there. Great instrumental. Put it on behind you and just jam out. Neat stuff. Cosmic Brian, look at that album cover. another new one this year. This is from Max Richter, Voices. I ordered, took forever to get here. Mazzy just showed this too. Took his forever to get here. So this is the one, it has a Max Richter autograph. And I guess it took him a while to sign it. Maybe that was it. I just didn't get around to signing it. This is of one of the new classicists, Minimal. And so we put out this new album, and I absolutely love this. On this album, oh my God, my records are just popping. Would you knock it off, for God's sakes? Jesus. All right. Sorry. This is based upon 1948 the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That's what this is built about. Wow, heavy stuff. And in fact, it begins with Eleanor Roosevelt. It's a recording. She's dead, by the way. Reading it. Look at all the people. Look at all the instruments. 70 different people read throughout here in different languages. There are 23 cellos. There are, 13 double bass. So this is bottom heavy. There's 1 or 2 violins. It's very ambient. It's very quiet. But then there's just these constant readings going on of the Declaration of Human Rights and how, the people, that we all have these rights. At times that gets frustrating, okay? This is, I like Max Richter. I like to play it in the background, stuff like that going on. And all of a sudden it's just getting interrupted with stuff. And I hear the voices and it pulls me away. Still, very beautiful music. There's a melancholy to it. The voices add to the music at times, especially when they're done in other languages. And they can be quiet and they can be underneath what you're hearing. Not bombastic music. Max Richter doesn't do that. So I did enjoy this. It is not my favorite from him, but still beautiful stuff. It's on clear vinyl. I'm not going to show you it's clear, so you can't see it.
All human beings are born free and equal.
How about some African music? Here we have Orchestre Polyrhythmo de Kanatu. Beats the hell out of me. From Benin. This is a band that formed in '68 and they're still playing. For those of you in Taekwondo, you recognize this as the opening stance when you go into Kumdo. So I know, you're saying, yeah, that is Kumdo. The music on here, there's Afrobeat, there's Soukous, S-O-U-K-O-U-S. Sure, I'm saying that wrong. That's music that came more out of Congo, Congolese rumba, similar to that, but it is different in the fact that it has a higher tempo and actually goes on longer. It's more of a longer dance type music. There's also High Life. I've talked a lot about High Life music. Came out of Ghana. Nigeria took it big time, and Fela Kuti took High Life and made it into part of his funk. And of course there's some funk. This is more danceable music. It's a variety of different albums. Songs, not albums. They recorded 500 different songs. Lots of explanation. It's a 2-album set. I had a hard time getting this one, so I finally did get it. Very happy to have it. It's a little more. It's not as funky as some of them, but it definitely there's some highly charged danceable type music from Africa. one I want to show. Really happy to get this thing. I had it in CD. David Lynch. A Big Dream. This is his third album that he put out. There's 11 songs that he composed with Dean Hurley is the other person, and they do one Bob Dylan cover. Comes with a book. Doesn't like that. Weird pictures. It is David Lynch we're talking about now, right? So if it's David Lynch, you think it's not going to be weird, then you're crazy. In the various credits. This is experimental, electronic, it's dream pop. And when I say dream pop, I'm talking scary dream pop. It's like a bad dream. It's as if you take modern blues and you shift it through on David Lynch's mind, and it goes through his mind and it comes out in slow motion. It's not the most consistent album. Probably that's its weakness. And it's definitely not for everyone. I bought it because he does Hollis Brown. Bob Dylan's The Ballad of Hollis Brown, and it is freaking haunting. And I put that on here. I mean, it's just one of my all-time. It's just incredible. One of my favorite songs. Amazing stuff. So this was, I was happy to get. You know, he put on his first album, nothing on sleeves. He did Pinky's Dead. Which is an incredibly cool song. This is neat. So you just think of a David Lynch movie, except it's now music. It is weird. It's a very, I get electronic, experimental, different.
Your children are so hungry that they don't know how to smile. Baby's eyes are crazy and tugging at your sleeve. Your baby's eyes are crazy and tugging at your sleeve. You walk the floor and wonder why with every breath you breathe.
And I brought in an old friend. MoFi, just put this back out. Miles Davis, look at that. I haven't even opened it. Kind of Blue. This is the 45. Number 18,480. Is that really limited? 18,000 of them? That doesn't seem limited, does it? Well, it's a limited number. It's 18,000. Really? That's a lot of people. But just happy to have it. My favorite album of all time in MoFi, in 45 RPM. It's like a dream come true for me. I mean, Merry Christmas to me. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope all of you have a happy holiday, whether it's Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and there's like 50, 60 different other holidays out there. Celebrate them all if you feel you need to. We'll have a nice, quiet one, just me and the wife. We'll be Zooming with my whole family, my brothers, sisters, mothers, kids. We all get on, Zoom it together. Always a nice time, so appreciate everybody. By the way, I will not get any music for Christmas. I never get music for Christmas. Well, I don't know what to buy you. Hell, I lost my whole collection. How could you not know what to buy me? Thank you for watching. Bye.